Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right guys, I'm asked every summer, and since it's starting to get warm around my parts, we're gonna do some application tips and tricks with 3D foundation for heat and humidity. So we're talking all day wear. There's no reason why you can't get all day wear from this makeup. If you're not, there's an issue that we can fix. If you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. All right guys, let's just get right on into application. We're talking 3D foundation today from Seint. All right, so if you don't know what this is, I've got some beginner videos. We're gonna talk about how you can get the longest wear, okay? I have tested this makeup with like, I don't know, 100-degree heat at an amusement park in the dead of a Missouri summer, which if you don't know, Missouri is very humid. So I definitely have worn this makeup through many of a humid summers. And it wears just fine, but there's some tips and tricks that you might need to know that can help you get a better wear time, or that might solve some of the issues if you're having any with your makeup. So let's first start with base skin. I always tell my clients, I don't think you need a primer with this makeup. And I know a lot of people don't believe me, and then they later come back to me and are like, you're right. You don't. It works better without one. These creams are designed so you don't need a primer. The only time I recommend a primer is if you are oily. And I'm talking like you need something to block oil production. Okay, so I see a lot of people using our setting spray as a primer. And I'm not gonna say it won't work for you. It works for some people. But our setting spray is a very moisturizing formulation. It leaves a dewy finish, and it has hyaluronic acid to actually increase moisture to the skin. It does have dimethicone in it. So if you've seen my videos before, you know you can have longevity issues with your makeup if you're using things with dimethicone in it as a primary ingredient. So dimethicone, if you don't know, is a type of silicone. It makes it a silicone-based product. Don't know what silicones are. They're added to everything from primers, moisturizers, sunscreen, anything usually kind of lotion-based, kind of creamy, that usually can have silicones. Very rarely do serums or anything like that have silicones in them. Silicones are what makes your skin have that temporary feeling of being really soft and smooth. It creates that texture to the skin. So the problem with that, because it smooths the skin so much, it makes it very slippery. So that means creams don't necessarily stick well to them. So I've noticed with my clients over the past 4 years that some people can use silicones in their, under the makeup lineup and have no issues with their colors, none whatsoever. I have some clients that literally, as soon as they eliminate silicones from the products they're using under their makeup, the issue is gone and they get all day 12+ hour wear. So it is very highly dependent on your skin, I will say that. But if you're having issues, that's the first thing you should just try applying your makeup on bare skin first, seeing if you have any longevity issues. If you don't, it's not a color issue. If that gives you problems, then you know it's your skincare and it's not something else. If you don't have any issues, then you know it's not your colors and you are good to go. If you have dry skin, you can use something like this, but know that it does have dimethicone. It can give some people longevity issues. I always wear my SPF, so I'm big on SPF. If you guys don't know, I usually will use my Elta MD or my Glow Screen. This does have a type of silicone in it. It does not have a methicone product, which are the ones that really create that slippery feeling. So I have had a lot of clients be able to use this, no problem. I don't think I've ever had anyone that has had a problem with the formulation, giving them longevity issues. So this is usually my go-to. Now, if you have oily skin or you don't like a dewy finish to your skin at all, you want to skip this one. You're not going to like it. Okay, so the next one is really good for oily skin, but it does have dimethicone in it. So again, you have to kind of try it, see if it works for you. But if you have oily skin, this sunscreen is awesome. If you have dry skin, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but for normal to oily skin, this is really good. It is a daily matte moisturizer. It's oil-free and it gives you your SPF protection. I find this really mattifies anywhere that I'm shiny. Like, it will take this area away. I like the glow to my skin, so I will be honest, sometimes I'll use this in my T-zone where I don't like to be shiny because I'm naturally shiny right between my brows and the tip of my nose, and I don't like that shine right there. But I love the glow on my cheeks and the rest of my skin. I want it to look really healthy. So I will sometimes use this everywhere except for my T-zone, and I'll use this in my T-zone. That sounds really high maintenance, but hey, I'm covered in my SPF, so I'm good to go, right? Okay, so one of my very favorite primers for oily skin, I'm so sad, it's called Becca's Evermatte. You guys have probably heard me talk about it before. It's amazing, and it is completely silicone free. It works amazing with this makeup. If you already use it and love it, stock up, because the company is going out of business, and I'm so sad. Becca is going to be no more. I want to say September, October, August, Google it. I want to say it's September of this year that they're going to be closing down. So stock up if that is your ride or die. I've been looking for an alternative, and so far this one is the best I've found. So this is by Honest Beauty Everything Primer. It's a matte primer, and it's got no silicones. Okay, so I'm gonna use this one today so I can kind of show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is for my oily skin girls, or if you maybe have normal skin but you just get like really shiny or have issues in certain areas. Look at that. Bye-bye shine. All right, so I already have SPF on everywhere else, but I'm just gonna put this where I need it. So primer always goes on right before makeup. Okay, so skincare, lotion if you need it, a moisturizer, then SPF, then primer right before makeup. So I'm just gonna kind of do my problem area. So if you have issues with pores and you feel like, you know, certain things just kind of exaggerate your pores, this mattifying look is gonna help you kind of lessen the look of pores. Like, you can already tell. Like, where I have pores is all of a sudden almost filtered out. Okay, but I want the rest of my skin dewy. So that is the only place I'm gonna use this. This one is definitely approved, no silicones. It's a great one to try it, and Target has it. Yes. Okay, so that will kind of keep the oil at bay. If you tend to get shiny or oily in humidity, or if you have oily skin, use it everywhere you're oily, okay? So we're gonna start in with makeup. So after your base, number 2, probably should be number 1, because this is by far the most important when it comes to getting longevity with 3D foundation, color, okay? If you've ever had to be rematched because your makeup wasn't lasting and you discovered the difference it makes when you have the correct colors, you're just like in shock and awe that this makeup can be so different than typical foundations. And sometimes it is like literally the smallest difference in color between 2 shades, and it's a night and day difference, whether you get all day wear or where your makeup is wearing off after 2 hours. So if your makeup is wearing off and you've tried it on bare skin, okay, and it's wearing off, you have the wrong colors. I promise you, even if it is blending in perfectly, there is an area of your face that it is not the right color for. that you have darker tones in there somewhere, even if you can't see it. As an artist, I'm trained, like that is the first thing I look for. I can see the most minute differences in color between somebody's skin that a lot of people would never notice. But that's what I do on the daily, is look at lots of faces and I study them in order for them to get the absolute perfect match and longevity from their makeup. Because I don't care if it matches your neck. If it doesn't last, what is the point? Like, there's no reason to spend your money on makeup if it doesn't last on your face. So number one for me is making sure that you're gonna have the colors that are gonna last you all day and all night and the next day if possible. So that being said, we're going into summer. You might be starting to get more color to your skin and you don't even realize it. Ask your artist for an updated match. Even if like you can show, like if you're my client, show me a picture of what you looked like last summer. If this is your first year wearing the makeup and you want to give me an idea of how dark you're going to get, shoot me a picture, email me. I am happy to suggest the shades you're gonna need. Just tell me the shades you're using. I've been doing this long enough. I can look at a picture of what you are now. You tell me you're getting darker. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be able to figure out exactly how dark you're gonna get, just because I've been looking at people's faces for that many years and analyzing color always. So if you are a self-tanner like me and your skin never changes because you wear the same thing all year round, here we go. I am going to go with the same colors I'm always using because my skin doesn't change. But if it does, make sure your artist rematches you or get that next shade. It is not always as simple as going one shade darker. That is why artists should be there to guide you. Because one shade darker, like some of our shades, the next darker shade is a completely different undertone, and so that shade might not work for you. So it's not as simple as just shading up always. And our colors, there's some colors that are about the same shade, they're just different undertones. It's hard to know unless you're trained what color is what and when to use it and all of those. Now that we have our colors right, if we have the right colors, I promise, even without all of these extra steps, it will last all day, okay? That should not make a difference this should not make a difference in longevity. The right colors make the difference in longevity. The products underneath your makeup make a difference in longevity, okay? But when it comes to application and being able to really have that flawless finish all day, now we're talking about those tips for heat and humidity, when you feel like you might be melting, when you're getting shiny, when your skin is producing that excess oil, okay? This will help kind of keep you matte, but we're gonna go into more detail as well. I'm throwing things. My next tip is brush choice, okay? And here's why. You might be able to apply this in the winter very differently in the summer, okay? So number one is if you apply too much of these creams, you're gonna feel oily, sticky, or tacky, okay? So if you are building up trying to get more coverage, let's say, and one of the main reasons that this could happen is if you're using a shade too light or not meant to color correct what you're trying to get coverage on, say this area for instance. If I was to use my main shade and keep building and building and building on that, it's never gonna kind of lay right. It's gonna look dry, textured, because that color is too light. If I was to do that to my full face, my skin would feel tacky always. And yes, you could put on a powder and kind of mitigate that, but we want you to be able to not use a powder if you don't have to, because then you can control the finish you have. So this is all about being able to get the look you want the easiest way possible without having to layer more and more product on if you don't have to, right? So color is number one. If it's not the right shade to color correct, okay, using a color corrector, actually, it might sound counterintuitive if you're being like, well, but you gotta lay a color down and then you gotta put more product on top of it. Isn't that gonna make me feel more tacky or more heavy? And the fact is no, because you're gonna use far less of each of those shades than you ever would of a shade too light, trying to build up and get the coverage that you can get with very little of those two, if that makes sense. I have done tutorials where I've layered 4 shades. You can still see my skin through it. I get all day wear. It's not a matter of layering or not. It's a matter of how much product you're using and using the proper colors to get the coverage, okay? Because you can use very, very little of a shade. If it's not right, it's not gonna last. And if it's not right, it's not gonna give you the coverage. And you can use a lot more of it, and you're gonna have all those issues of no coverage, and then that's gonna be tacky and too heavy, okay? So this makeup is very different. So that's why we have an artist program to help you know what the heck you are having issues with and to help you troubleshoot. That is literally, I feel like I'm a troubleshooting queen after doing this for this long. I've heard it all and I've been able to fix it all. It's all in a matter of application and color mostly. And so now we're going to get into the application. Okay. So for the summer, okay, when you got heat and humidity and all that, I love this brush for a natural light finish, but if you are one that touches your face a lot, okay, wipe and sweat, all those things, just a little bit of common sense makes you think if you have very little product on your face and you're wiping your face a lot, you're going to, over time through the day, be wiping away your makeup, okay? It kind of just makes sense, right? So then we have the opposite effect. If you like full coverage, okay, and you're applying it with a brush like the Buff, which is awesome for full coverage, but you're applying so much, it's leading to creasing and cakiness and feeling sticky and tacky. That is also not the kind of coverage we want, right? We want that happy medium that's not going to be wiped away and that's not going to make you feel oily because you have too much product on your face, okay? Does that make sense? All right. I'm sick of hearing about this brush yet, okay? It's the reason why I recommend it for every beginner is because this is pretty much in between these two, okay? You can still get a natural coverage, you can still get full coverage, but you can easily build it up without applying too much, but kind of we're shooting for that medium coverage, looking for right in the middle of the road, like Goldilocks, just right, okay? Just right. So now that I've gone off on my tangent, I'm not saying you can't get this from the other brushes. You can. It's all in how you use it, okay? I have a full video that shows you how to do an entire face with each brush. Knowing how to use the brushes you have properly is a game changer, all right? I'm gonna stick with this one because this one is the easiest to learn to use because it's just easy, okay? Doesn't pick up too much product. It buffs on, it presses on. It's just my Goldilocks, okay? All right, so now we're gonna go into color correction because why? I have a lot of hyperpigmentation, okay? As I'm in the sun, you'll see it all gets darker. My nose gets darker, this gets darker, okay? Naturally, where the sun hits will get darker faster. It's just kind of nature, right? So those areas, make sure when you're applying your shade, you're not getting any texture, okay? If you're seeing any texture at all, it looks dry, you're seeing the look of your pores suddenly exaggerate. You've tried the bare skin method and you notice that just certain areas of your face wore off, okay? Or didn't last well. That is your sign. Those areas of your face are darker, okay? Those areas of your face need a darker shade to correct. It might be a very subtle difference. It might be a drastic difference. And the color corrector depends on how much of a difference it is. But color correction makes this makeup so much easier because it gives you the coverage you need with less product, okay? I use so very little, it's not even funny. Okay, I think I've had this 10 in here for 6 months, if not more. It's still going strong, okay? I'm gonna use this. I'm not sweeping in, okay? We do not wanna feel sticky or tacky and have the makeup feel like it's melting off. Too much product. It's all about using the right amount, okay? So I'm just gonna use this to buff on only where I need it, okay? So for my face, if you look at me, I've got hyperpigmentation through here. My entire nose is darker due to hyperpigmentation. I've got redness between the eyes and a little bit on my forehead, hyperpigmentation, redness, okay? So I'm mainly gonna just buff it on my T-zone and up my cheeks, and then I'm gonna use it to color correct around my eyes. Now, eyes are something that you probably aren't gonna notice issues with longevity, but you're gonna notice issues with how it looks, how it's laying on the skin, and if it's increasing the look of texture around your eyes. If you have mature eyes like me, the number one issue I see is people just laying their brightener shade straight under their eyes. And if you're using a shade too light, what did I say? It's gonna increase the look of texture. It makes all this look far worse than what it can. So knowing how to use your shades is key. Okay, so I'm just going to buff on a very thin layer, okay? The motion of the brush is key, okay? I'm not pulling, okay? That can lead to streaks. I'm just small circles, okay? You'll notice, like just touching my face, I turn red, okay? Small circles, we're matching the darkest points. We're color correcting my redness, my hyperpigmentation, okay? So I don't need as much of my main shade. I already did my brows, so I'm trying to go between them. And I use so very little, like you probably can't even tell on camera how very little redness I have on my forehead. And so I'm gonna use even far less there, right? And get that hyperpigmentation around my eyes. Okay, now here you can look at your face and be like, okay, is there anything that is still really pulling darker? And if so, you can use, like sometimes it's broken capillaries, need extra coverage. Mine is this spot of hyperpigmentation. You know, use a detailed brush to really get those details, or use your finger. I like the warmth of my finger to kind of press on. So we buffed in, now I'm pressing on only more where needed. Okay, I'm going to now go with my eyes. I'm gonna color correct those blue and purple. Clean up my eyeshadow while I'm at it. Okay, if you're still seeing a lot of darkness, use the warmth of your finger, press on more. Key is getting a thin layer. We want the thinnest layer possible of all of this. I don't want to be able to see makeup. I can't see makeup yet, okay? We don't want to be able to see makeup. That will just lead to you feeling tacky or being able to feel it on your face. And this makeup you shouldn't be able to feel if applied properly. Okay, so that's why I use my finger, so I can really feel that I have an even thin layer of that. All right, so now I've got my color corrector on. I know my darkest tones in my face are matched. And so now I can kind of tone it back down. If you can't tell, I'm warmer than my neck. I need to bring down that warmth a little bit and keep it matching. So now I'm gonna go into my main shade, same brush, but this time I'm pressing on the color because I don't want to move all that I just placed, okay? So just little pouncing motions, and I'm going to use that kind of bouncing motion to kind of distribute it. This is going to build up the coverage so I have enough that's not going to like go anywhere if I wear a mask or if I wipe sweat from my face. I'm not going to be pulling off the thinnest layer possible of makeup. This makeup has such pigmentation. You don't need a ton, but if you apply like hardly none, you're not gonna get the coverage you need. It's gonna be much more likely to wear off, if that makes sense. So now I've got pretty good coverage. We're gonna contour. Can't forget contour. This will just increase the coverage. So if you are wearing a mask all day in the dead of heat, this is right where our mask lies, right? We want as much coverage in that area as possible. So I'm gonna go in with Astoria and Indigo. I like to mix, what can I say? I'm gonna pounce that in right there on the edge of my brush. Kind of cup that cheekbone. If you notice that your contour is wearing off, you either have the wrong shade underneath it, you're blending out too much, okay, if you're blending like this, it's very easy to not have great longevity if you're kind of just blending it all away. So make sure you're blending up, just pouncing your brush. Okay, making sure you're leaving some on there, especially if you like a matte look, it's gonna tone down quite a bit once we finish it. Okay. Forehead. Again, I'm mixing, using a little bit more Indigo now than Astoria. Here I use mostly Astoria, some Indigo. Now I'm using mostly Indigo because my forehead naturally is just lighter. I need more there. Okay, kind of 50-50 under here. Okay, there you go. Should I contour my nose? I'll do a quick nose contour. Let's do fingers. Got some Astoria, never contour with Indigo, way too red. If you have a red nose like me, at least, don't. Okay, there we go. Now let's bronze it up real quick. Gosh, I haven't even used this end yet. We got some Bella, some Glow, and some Muse. So if you feel like your bronzer isn't like, I don't know, if you want even more coverage, you are a bronzer girl through and through, use some Muse with it. It actually gives more coverage. Glow will give you more of the shimmery type bronzer. So I feel like I don't need a whole lot of bronzer, to be honest, right now, because I just tanned, but that's okay. Okay, again, bronzer is really where it hits your face first. So nose, chin, cheeks, high points, forehead. I like to go around this formation because we're still gonna brighten the center. And then down the neck, we wanna keep that matching. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and brighten. Now I pick up the buff brush. This is my ride or die for under eyes because I can press it on. I'm not pulling at that delicate under eye area. I can just do a simple tap. I'm gonna concentrate it right there on that side of my nose. It's like darker. Right there, and then I'm just gonna slowly tap out towards the corner of my eye. I'm not applying any here where I have texture issues. Okay, and you can see how much that brightens. Okay, center of the forehead. Down the nose. Cupid's bow. Chin. I feel like my chin's pulling a little warm, so that will tone it down. If your neck is lighter, press your brightener right here. Kind of bring that back down to matching the neck. Okay. Now we've gotten to the most important step. Here is where I say, if you are ever sticky or tacky, or you feel like you're, you know, rubbing off on your clothes or anything like that, you know you have the proper colors because you've tested it, you get all day wear, but you're having these other issues, it's because you haven't discovered how to use this properly. I feel like it really is a game changer once you learn how to use this. Okay, so I see some people spraying their Stay Spray directly on it and then going straight to the face. And here's why that does not work with this makeup, because it's too wet, okay? If your Perfector is too wet, what happens? It pulls off patches of your makeup. Suddenly you don't have this beautiful blended finish, you know, you're not just pulling off excess, you are pulling off the entire spot where you touched it to your face with the most amount of moisture on it. Before I even sat down, I got this completely saturated, right? Under running water. I squeezed it over and over again till it doubled, okay? Then I squeezed out every last drop of water I could. Then I dried it in a towel 3 times. Then I let it sit out, okay? So if you're feeling like it is pulling your makeup off, it's not just removing excess, but it's taking away coverage, it's still too wet, okay? You're not getting all the water out. This thing is seriously magical and is the only way to remove excess if it is perfectly prepared. And I stress it so much, I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing it, but this guy who's dry, it will press it into the skin, but it's not gonna pull off excess, okay? This is really good for during the day if you're oily. I always have a dry Perfector, not moisturized, you know, moisturized, not dampened at all. I keep one in my car. I keep them in my purse. I have one with me because if you ever through the day are one of these oily girls and you didn't use anything to block that oil production, just simply using this it's just so good to pull off excess oil or shine. So like I'll use it like right in between my brows, and then I suddenly have freshened up my makeup without having to add more powder. Again, that is also an option. So I'll get to powder in a second, but having vanilla dust in your compact, even if you're oily, to touch up during the day is also an option, but this is really good. Paper towels. No joke, the like blotting papers are good as well. It will absorb oil, but it can sometimes kind of pull off your makeup. Like McDonald's or Starbucks napkins. Keep them in your car. That thin paper of those napkins is so good for oil blotting, taking away shine. Paper towels will as well. Like I haven't perfected yet, and you can see I've got makeup on here. This is also a really good like sign to kind of teach you if you're applying too much. If you use a white paper towel, blot it all over your face after you do your makeup, and you can still see it's coming off, that means you have too much on. So obviously I do because I haven't perfected yet. But if you perfect and then do this and you're still getting makeup to come off, your Perfector's too dry. So it is like, once you kind of discover the magic of like the exact perfect Perfector dampness for you, I just threw it. I promise you will notice a huge difference with your makeup. You will be able to get a skin-like finish if you want. You'll never have it rubbing off on your clothes if it's the right color. The wrong color still will. But this thing is magical. just pounce it, okay? This is the only way I can make sure my face doesn't look like I'm wearing heavy makeup, okay? Under the eyes for me is the most important area because I apply my brightener a little bit heavier for a little extra coverage. And then I can take it and make it look natural again. I mean, the difference is crazy. But I just layered 3 shades under my eyes for coverage, okay? It does not make me look any older. It doesn't exaggerate, and that is my problem area. Look at that, okay? But it's all in this guy, okay? If you have too much, you will crease. If you have too much, you will be shiny. You shouldn't ever feel oily with this makeup. This makeup will not make you feel oily unless you just are super oily and you need something to mattify to block that oil production, or if you're applying too much. It doesn't matter if you have oily skin or not. If you tell me, well, it's making me look oily, but I don't have oily skin, you have too much. Now, there is also something called the adjustment phase. And I'll be honest, I first adjusted in the middle of summer and it made it a little bit harder. But the adjustment period is based on your skin type, how long it takes your skin to get used to an occlusive makeup, okay? So most makeup is made up of pigment and water, and you slap on a liquid foundation, the water evaporates, and you're just left with pigment that dries, okay? These creams never dry. They never set. They are mostly made up of occlusive agents, which, what do occlusive agents do? They hold moisture into your skin. So all that transepidermal water loss, which is a fancy way of saying all the water that you lose out of your face during the day, is now captured. And you'll notice over time, your skin will be far more moisturized and glowy because you're not losing water, okay? You're not gonna need to use as much hyaluronic acid and stuff like that to pull that water into your skin from the environment. You have it already with an occlusive cream. It is gonna moisturize your skin. Now, that being said, you might feel a little bit shinier or dewier in the first, I usually say 2 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks being like an oily skin girl, 2 weeks or less, 2 weeks for normal. Some of my dry skin clients have no issues. Their skin loves it, soaks it up, not literally, but loves the extra hydration, loves that they don't even, some people no longer need a moisturizer because this helps balance their skin so much. Okay, there we go. This is, to me, medium coverage. I've got great coverage on everything that I want covered, but I can still see my skin. It doesn't look heavy, doesn't look cakey. Okay, this is ideal for me. By now, I've used my Perfector so much, it's warm. It's no longer cold to the touch, okay? Which cold means that it's perfectly damp. It should never feel damp. It should only feel cold. Now it's warm. I know it's done its job. Now all I have to do is put on a little blush and lips, and we will call it a day. So use the exact same brush, blush and bronzer brush. Let's see, what am I gonna use? So for heat and humidity, I feel like depends on your preference. If you don't know, our lip and cheeks have 3 different formulations. The website calls it like satin, semi-gloss, and gloss. I call it matte or glossy. Pretty much, we have ones that give a glow to the skin or ones that have no glow whatsoever. They go on very matte, okay? To me, that's matte. So I say if you're having issues with longevity on your cheeks, first of all, have you color corrected that area? If you have redness, natural flush in your cheeks and you're not using a shade that's right for it, as your highlight fades, it will bring your contour and your blush with it, okay? If that is not your issue, then I always recommend starting with a matte, that satin formulation that's gonna give the most pigmentation, okay? So we have pretty much 50-50 on all of them. I like the glow to my cheeks. Some people don't like that because it does make your cheek a little bit stickier to the touch, but it's just a personal preference, whatever you like. Okay, I'm gonna use Hollywood. It's one of my favorite summer colors. Okay, and I'm just gonna go to the outside apple of my cheek, right up on along that contour line. And I'm pressing on because I don't wanna move all of those glorious colors I just put down. They're perfectly placed. Now I'm just gonna kind of give it a nice kiss of a flush of color for blush. And since I want a little bit of glow, I'm gonna add my fave, which is Summer Love, right over it. And you can see it's got a little bit more of that glossy texture. So some people like that on their lips, and some people like to keep the matte shades on their cheeks. So whatever you like. Okay, so I went ahead and just did the same colors on my lips. I lined my lips with indigo contour. Now let's talk setting. This is the most important step after like the base step for longevity during the summer, the heat and humidity. So we have the perfect amount of coverage. We're not sticky or tacky, but now we're gonna kind of set that in place and lock and load it, right? Okay, so options. For me personally, my under eyes are my problem area, okay? I perfected, I don't have excess there. I really only use vanilla dust under my eyes. So I take the powder brush, I touch it very gently. That gives me enough for my entire under eye, and I'm good to go. Okay, now on a normal day-to-day basis, I usually just put a little bit of this on my nose and in between my brows, and I'm good. You can tell I'm not as shiny there where I put that mattifying primer. So the glow I have is just the natural glow from the cream. If I have oily skin or I want a matte look, no matter what, I'm going to powder very last in my routine. If you're wanting the ultimate longevity, a setting spray and a powder is by far the best. I usually recommend in the summer when we are sweating, if you use that powder last, it's gonna help the most. Because a setting spray usually takes away the powdery finish. It kind of leaves you a little bit dewier than it's going to, you know, as you start sweating or whatever it might be, that powder isn't there to absorb the oils as much. It takes away that finish. So I'm gonna use a setting spray, some few different ones. If you have oily skin, I don't actually recommend ours. Ours is better for dry to normal skin, and it will leave a dewy finish. I don't have it on me, the Urban Decay D-Slick is the best for oily skin. Some other good ones are the Urban Decay All Nighter or the Scandinavia, the Bridal Setting Spray. If you are a SPF girl through and through like me, Supergoop has a setting spray. I'm gonna try this one today. Okay, this one has an SPF 40 and will also set your makeup. This is what I keep in my purse so that if I need to apply my sunscreen during the day, I don't have to mess up my makeup. It gives it a really nice mist as well. Now, it's not my favorite smell, but okay, so I set my makeup, but now I'm going to, instead of using this, I want ultimate like shine protection. I'm gonna use a loose setting powder. Now I already did it under my eyes. This gives me texture under my eyes, so I'm gonna steer clear of that from around my eyes, but a loose powder by far will give you a longer kind of wear during the summer, right? So you can use a powder puff, or the powder brush is really good because it's got this nice angle. It allows you to kind of push that powder into your pores a little bit and kind of keep that shine at bay, that oil production at bay. So just press it on where you need it. I usually recommend anywhere you might be prone to creasing, anywhere you might be shiny, or anywhere you applied just highlight. So down here where there's just highlight and no contour or blush. Okay, you can powder everywhere, but obviously anywhere you contour, it's going to kind of tone that down a bit. Anywhere you applied the blush as well. So know that, and you have to apply those areas heavier. You can also use a powder blush or a powder bronzer over those areas to kind of lock them in the same technique of using a powder to kind of set a cream. All right, friends, so there you have it. There's my full routine and recommendations for how to get the best summer wear time through heat and humidity. So keep a dry Perfector in your car if you need to kind of blot oil. Paper towels work. Having that vanilla dust is awesome for touching up, but make sure you're using a heavier powder in those summer months if you need to, or if you're still in the adjustment phase, a setting spray and a powder last will totally help you get through that period so much easier. Hope this video was helpful. If you are in need of a color match, my color match request is in the drop box below the video. I'm happy to make sure you have the proper shades and to help you out at every step along the way with your makeup. As always, thank you guys for watching. Love you.